Hi, my name's Denisha, and the reason why you're watching me is because I'd like to share my story about leukemia and cancer. It's taken me a really long time to make this video because of illness, fear, not feeling worthy or good enough, and who's gonna watch this video. I have just finished my treatment and I've realised that there's so many people who are in the same situation that I am in right now, and sometimes to help yourself you can also help others. So I just wanted to share with you what basically happened. So this is 3 years ago this month. I had started a new job at a care home, and it was for helping people with neurological problems. And when I was there, I was feeling, I started feeling really strange. I was feeling really, really tired, dizzy, and just, stomach ache. Wasn't feeling myself. And in South London, I don't know if any other GPs are like this, but you can only go to a GP with one symptom at a time. Yeah, that's really ridiculous. So I went to the doctor with the symptom that I thought was the most pressing, and that was chest pain. So the GP was like, oh, maybe it's because of the exercise that you do. And at that time, I thought I was like a superwoman. I was going to work, I've got my 2 children, I was going to the gym 6 days a week, but I never did chest. So I disputed that. I was like, no. It's not because of the exercise I do, because I don't ever exercise my chest. So the doctor let me go. And then the second time he sent me for an ECG. My heart was fine. The third time I went back and I said, right, I've got pain in my stomach. And at the time I did have rashes all over my body, marks, but I couldn't go to the GP about that because you can only go with one symptom, remember. So I told him about the pain in my stomach, and if you guys know me in real life, I'm one of those really annoying girls who's like, oh my god, my belly, my belly, my belly, my belly. But this pain was different. I have to breathe when I talk about this because it's bringing it all back. But yeah, the pain was really, really different. So the doctor gave me ranitidine, and I looked at him like, and I think he thought I was a hypochondriac. And if you don't know what ranitidine is, it's kind of like when you have, acids, so tummy pain, like almost like Gaviscon. So he gave me that, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Took it for 2 days, and the pain was getting worse. And like I said, I had just started a new job. I started to fall asleep in class, in training. And I remember apologising to the teacher. Anyway, the next day I went back to the GP, and I went on the internet and I was looking, thinking what is wrong with me, because I kind of had this really strange feeling of impending doom. It's like I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know. So I went on the internet and I put in my symptoms. I had night sweats, like really bad, to the point my son would come into the bed and be like, Mom, have you wet yourself? That's how bad the sweats were. The bed was wet. I had bruises all over my skin. All these little red marks would come all over my skin. I was walking around and I felt really, really dizzy. Just not quite right. But I was never exactly ill. I never had a cold. I didn't feel really ill, and I was really trying to just push myself, right, just get to work, go to the gym and get on. So anyway, the internet, Google told me that based on my symptoms that I've either got pancreatic cancer or leukemia. That's when my belly kind of just dropped, because I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing these little red dots, and I'm looking at my skin and I'm seeing them all over my skin. So I went to the emergency walk-in at the GP and I said, listen, Google has basically told me that I've got pancreatic cancer or leukemia. I've got these spots all over my skin. Can you please get me a blood test and test me for an enzyme that's apparently present in pancreatic cancer? So at this point the GP looked at me and my skin is covered in these little red dots, and she said, okay, that next day I had a blood test and I went to work, and when you guys get to know me, you'll realise that I am a Googler. I Google everything, which is, it's good and it's pretty bad at the same time. So I Googled, and it basically said that if you are ill, once you have a blood test, the GP or the hospital will call you that very same day. So I went to work, I was falling asleep in class. I got home and it must have been about 6 o'clock. And I was feeling really strange. And I thought, you know what, let me have a shot of rum and then go and lay down. And one mind said don't. And I remember I went into the bar shower and I just started crying. I just broke down because it was like, I knew I was so ill, and as I was crying, I had got blood shots in my eye. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God. And I remember I went into the living room at my mum's house, and then the phone rang, and I missed it at first, and it was a private number, and then they called me back. And I thought, oh my God. The hospital called and they said, the first thing they said was, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. They said, you need to come to A&E right now. And I remember I looked at my mum and I said to them, I said, I've got leukemia, haven't I? And he said, I can't tell you that right now. And I literally, I broke down. And it's so weird because before he had called me, I didn't feel physically sick. I just felt strange, you know? But once he told me, yeah, you need to come into A&E, all of a sudden, it's a weird feeling. As I'm saying, I get tingles, like I just felt so weak. And I remember crying and crying and crying. I said to my mum, I got cancer. Mum was like, no, Denisha, you haven't got cancer. Looking in my, she was shouting, saying, Denisha, you have not. I said, Mum, I've got cancer. Anyway, we went to the hospital, my mum and my partner, and literally once we went to Lucian, once you get there and we told them that what they said on the phone, they were really cool. We didn't have to wait. I got sent straight in, and they took my bloods and they examined my stomach, and remember I was saying I had really strange stomach pains, and the doctor gave me Rilitidine. When the doctor examined me, he said, your spleen is enlarged, and that's why I was having so much pain. So anyway, my memory is really dodgy, so this might not be in order, but I think it was the next day I had the bone marrow aspiration. And basically that's how they tell you whether you've got cancer or leukemia. Because they were still trying to tell me that, you know, they don't know, they're not telling me for sure if I've got cancer, said it may not be. But the bone marrow test will give me an answer for sure. So they did the aspiration, and that was something else. Basically, how they do bone marrow is they have some sort of instrument and they drill into your hip and they take out your bone. They take the bone marrow from in your hip. It's about this big. It took 2 hours for them to do that. And if anybody knows me, I'm mentally strong, and I go to gym and lift weights, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. I gave birth to my baby with no pain relief. I can do this, and I've been really positive. And I remember when they started the procedure, I was breathing and like trying to literally firm it, and it got to the point it took 2 hours to remove the bone from my hip. The doctor who was doing it, he was using the wrong anaesthetic. He was using 1% lignocaine, which numbs you, when he was supposed to use 2. And I remember when you're in so much pain, it gets to a point where no words come from your mouth. And I remember laying there, and I looked at my partner, and I just looked at his face, and I remember just staring into his eyes, just literally numb. Because it was like there was no more that I could do. And I remember anyway, a nice lady came, an older lady came, and she numbed me up properly, and she got the bone marrow fairly quickly when he asked for assistance, but it took 2 hours. So So after they did that procedure, I'm really not sure how long it took, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe it wasn't very long. I'm not sure if it was the next day, but I was on my own and I was in the bed, and my mum and my partner wasn't there at the time. And the doctors came round, and there were a few of them, and they looked at me and said, "You've got cancer, you've got leukemia." And I can tell you, there's one thing going on the internet and thinking, I'm ill, I think I've got cancer, and then somebody looking you dead straight in your face and saying, "You've got cancer." I tell you, that's an experience I will never ever forget. And I was on my own, and I remember I just broke down. I started crying, and there was this young lady across from me, and she must have heard me. Never forget her name, Cheryl. She heard me crying, and she came, and she just gave me a big embrace, and I was so grateful for that, because she didn't need to do that, and I was on my own, 27, 2 children, and the doctors just told me, "You have leukemia." High risk leukemia at that point. It was really, really difficult. So after they had the bone marrow, they kind of explained to me, you know, what was going to happen, that I would need to have a donor, but I need to have treatment. So after that happens, you don't leave the hospital. From that A&E call that I got, I went to the hospital, and 7 weeks later I was still in hospital. They transferred me from Lewisham to King's, and what I will say is the treatment at King's is amazing. I was in Davison ward, and amazing. The nurses, they do everything to keep you out of pain, to make sure that you're not sick. They talk to you. They literally, like mentors. The nurses, they go above and beyond, and you feel really, really safe. It's scary, but really, really safe considering the circumstances. But it comes to why I want to make these videos, because once you kind of leave those 7 weeks out of hospital, you go an outpatient, and you are in hospital for a year, and you have chemo every single day. So you have chemo maybe 5 or 4 days a week on an outpatient basis. But what happens when you have that treatment, you are so poorly for that year. Every single week, no fail, I was admitted into hospital. It is mentally and physically hard. And through that experience, I literally feel like, Denisha, you can take on the world. Like, you are the boss. Like, you can do anything, because to go through those days of being in hospital, you are alone many of the times. And your thoughts can play on your mind, and it takes a lot not to fall into deep depression. And that's the reason why I really want to make these videos, because once you leave that hospital and you start your maintenance treatment, I feel like you're kind of on your own. Yes, there is support in the sense of counselling and stuff, but if you're like me and you have 2 young children to look after, and you want to be a part of their life, when do you find time to have the counselling? I mean, it's important to make time, but for me it was really difficult, and I felt really alone. Like I was the only one dealing with this. I was falling over, I was having pins and needles in my fingers, and the most immense pain in my head where I could not physically move. I was having seizures. The list goes on to things, and I felt like I was on my own, and sometimes the hospital made me feel like I was the only one having these problems, which I know isn't. But I kind of want to make videos to just help and inspire people to see that, you know, I went through this and I came out on the other side mentally stronger than you can ever imagine, and so can you. And I feel like in healing myself, I can help others as well, so that you know that you're not the only one who's going through it, and that you don't need to be silenced, and you have a voice and you can speak and you can cry, but first of all, you need to know that how powerful your mind is and that you can achieve anything just by changing your mind. And I'd like to show you videos of what I did while I was in hospital to help me get through, and hopefully I can inspire other people. It's taken me a really long time to make this video, and I really hope that somebody watches it and it will resonate with somebody and it can help somebody. Thank you for watching if you didn't fall asleep. But yeah, I will see you again. Bye.